Sarah stood in front of the old mirror, her reflection almost unrecognizable. The dark circles under her eyes, the pallor of her skin, the haunted look, everything was a testament to the horror she had been living. It all started a few months ago when she stumbled upon an old film reel while cleaning the attic. The reel was dusty and worn, marked with the date, June 1985. Curiosity piqued. She found an old projector and played the film. What she saw made her blood run cold. The grainy footage showed her husband, Mark, much younger but unmistakably him, with a woman she didn't recognize. They were laughing, holding hands, and then the scene shifted. The woman was tied to a chair, struggling, tears streaming down her face as Mark circled her like a predator. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest. Who was this woman? What had Mark done to her? She needed answers, but confronting Mark directly was too dangerous. She knew her husband well enough to understand that his calm demeanor masked a darker, more sinister side. As days passed, Sarah became a master of pretense. She smiled and laughed, pretending everything was normal while secretly investigating. She searched through old documents, talked to Mark's childhood friends, and even visited his old neighborhood. Slowly, pieces of the puzzle started to come together. The woman in the film was Lisa, Mark's high school sweetheart. According to the sparse information Sarah could gather, Lisa had disappeared in the summer of 1985, and the case had gone cold. Mark had never mentioned her, and now Sarah understood why. The fear gnawed at her, but she had to know the full truth. One night, while Mark was out, Sarah ventured into his study. It was always locked, but she had found a spare key hidden in the garage. Her hands trembled as she opened the door and stepped inside. The room was neat, almost sterile, but there was a sense of foreboding in the air. She began searching through the drawers and shelves, desperate to find something that would confirm her suspicions. In the bottom drawer of his desk, she found a box labeled Memories. Inside were photographs, letters, and another film reel. This one was marked Final Moments. With a sinking feeling, Sarah set up the projector again and watched. The reel started with a shot of Mark's face, cold and emotionless. The camera panned to Lisa, who was now unconscious, blood trickling from a wound on her head. Sarah's stomach churned as she watched Mark methodically end Lisa's life, disposing of her body in a shallow grave. The room spun, and Sarah felt like she was going to faint. She stumbled back, knocking over a lamp. Panic set in as she realized she had to get out of there before Mark returned. She gathered the evidence and fled to the guest room, where she hid the box under a loose floorboard. That night, Mark came home and noticed the broken lamp. "What happened here?" he asked, his eyes narrowing suspiciously. "I tripped," Sarah lied, her voice shaking. "I was looking for a book and knocked it over." Mark's gaze lingered on her for a moment longer before he shrugged. "Be more careful," he said, his tone oddly gentle. Days turned into weeks, and Sarah's fear grew. She couldn't go to the police. Mark was too powerful, too connected. Instead, she devised a plan. She would gather enough evidence to expose him, to make sure he could never harm anyone again. One evening, Sarah pretended to go to bed early, feigning exhaustion. She waited until she heard Mark's steady breathing before slipping out of bed. She retrieved the box and snuck into the study, intending to digitize the film reels as evidence. As she worked, she heard a noise behind her. She turned to see Mark standing in the doorway, his expression a mix of confusion and anger. "What are you doing, Sarah?" he asked, his voice dangerously low. Sarah's heart raced. I found these old films," she stammered. "I thought they were family memories." Mark's eyes flicked to the projector, then back to her. "Those are private," he said, stepping closer. "You shouldn't have watched them." Fear surged through Sarah as Mark advanced. She backed away, trying to think of an escape route. "Mark, I know about Lisa," she blurted out. "I know what you did." Mark's face twisted with rage. "You don't know anything," he snarled, lunging at her. Sarah dodged and ran towards the door, but Mark grabbed her arm, pulling her back. They struggled, the room filled with the sounds of their fight. Desperate, Sarah reached for a heavy paperweight and struck Mark on the head. He staggered, giving her enough time to escape. Sarah ran out of the house and into the night, her heart pounding. She didn't stop until she reached the police station. Breathless and terrified, she told them everything, showing them the digitized films as proof. Mark was arrested, his dark secrets exposed for the world to see. Sarah testified at the trial, her courage unwavering. The jury found him guilty, and he was sentenced to life in prison without parole. But even as Sarah tried to move on with her life, the nightmares lingered. She couldn't escape the images of the films, the memory of Mark's betrayal. She had survived his dangerous game, but the scars remained, a haunting reminder of the darkness that lurked beneath the surface of their perfect life.